capacity that is available for this class. Now, having said that, let me, of course, the class captain has confirmed that everybody has the course outline. So the other issue is about attendance. Attendance is compulsory. So I encourage every one of us to please attend. And I think doing this virtually is much more comfortable for everyone than having to travel through rain, to the Yaba building. We have had experiences going there. But the class is never full anyways. And for obvious reasons, there are problems of traffic all over Lagos. Sometimes rain will also complicates getting your way through to the class. So more often than not, if on a good day, if you have 40 people, that class is lucky that day. But this is um, the second stream that I'm having that we have over 100. Yesterday was maybe stream three. At the end of the day, there are about one and let's say 134 or so. And yours now is about 115. So it's much easier to attend virtually. You can plan your time, get yourself a comfortable place that you can listen to your lecture. And most of us at home. So there is, it is a better opportunity than to be on the road first, and then lose most of the hours on the road and then not even making it to classes. So that is one part of it. Attendance is important, and I'm sure the class captain has been briefed about compiling attendance at the end and letting us know who attended, who didn't, just to be sure. But on a personal note, I would appeal to all of us to take it seriously, be present, participate in it, because it's not, okay to sit back, stay away, and hoping to read something and then write exam. It doesn't often work out that way because the examinations ordinarily should be informed by the nature of interactions that we share with the students. This is our class. We teach it here, and then we're also bound by what we teach to reflect in the examination questions in the hope that you have done your own part of it, and then we also have done our own. We create an expectation through what we have taught you, the discussions we have in class, the contribution made by members of this class, the clarifications made by us. It should be what, it should constitute the framework, upon which we set up an examination scheme for you for purpose of that course. So that is what we believe in. So attendance is important, participation is important. And I'm also happy that we have a large class, which means as an adult class, there is a lot of experiences available to us. Most of us, or some of us have been in business with experience, serious experiences. Some are hoping to get into business and manage one, and also expecting to learn something from here. So those are the kind of capacities that is available, experiences from students, our own experiences, and of course expectations for those who want to. And when you are seeking a master's degree in business administration, of course, is just as well that you have some understanding about business, about some understanding about business. And then I think even after finishing this program, some of you will start thinking about partnership, about business that you want to manage, manage So this is how these things work. Okay, so you can see that there's a whole lot of things to look for or look forward to, in the course of the lecture. Now, coming back to the course outline, I will speak to the course outline, and then after touching on the key aspects of it, then we allow anyone who has questions to ask me, you know, experiences to share with us, and then we can at least close on that note. From next week, we open, the box, and then uh, start to look into the specifics of our outline and then discuss them. But I will do the introduction today, and then we'll still see me next week. So that is just about it. Now, the title of the law, business law 850, is business law. Now, what this means, so what are our objectives or the expectations here? Now, it's about anything about business, and it is huge. And let me say this, in the law faculty, some of the courses we teach the law students for the law program, they also substantially include business laws. Now, and they are in parts. In year two, for instance, we discuss law of contract, one and two. Year three is sale of goods. Law of commercial transaction. Broken into sale of goods and also agency. Then when you get to year five, we'll be doing company law and but first and second semester. So you can see 3 years are dedicated to cover the whole ambit of business law. And of course, we still won't be able to cover everything because there has to be something left for those who are going to, you know, to have better knowledge post graduation, of the course itself, because you really can't teach everything. Even with the time we have in our hands. So you can now see that if we do this 3 years of our 5-year program in the law faculty, covering business law as it were, and we have just a semester to teach you business law, then you can see that there's no way we can work any miracles to cover everything. So, but that is why we have designed a program that will give you some understanding about business law, knowing that this is just one of those courses you just need to take and understand the concept and what issues are involved. So while we won't be able to go through all the whole of business law, we have something that we believe will help you, in understanding business law, at least working knowledge, and of course, to create enough awareness for you so that you can also pick up on things relating to business and seek out those who can seriously help you, you know. So that is just what it is. So we we will be introducing two aspects of business to you. The the first aspect of it is about the vehicles through which businesses are done. We will introduce all of that. And the second part of it is the regulations of business activities. And then after introducing the regulation, we also peep into the regulation to see whether we can have some understanding of the nature of this regulation. Because if you don't understand the nature of it, it is difficult to have an understanding of how they relate to regulating your own businesses in whatever, at whatever level you intend to be in business. Now, so we get into all of that. Now, when we when I talk about the vehicles through which businesses are done, of course, I'm looking at how what you know, what some of you are also practicing as it is. How do people own businesses? Through what, vehicle? The first is that they do, I mean, they can be a business owner through a sole proprietorship, just being by themselves. They are the one that fund and then manage and run this business alone. Of course, we'll look at the pros and cons of a sole proprietorship or a sole proprietorship, meaning that someone, alone is the owner of the business running it. Are there advantages to this? Yes, there are. Are there disadvantages to it? Yes, there are disadvantages. Sometimes you work alone, you are at peace with yourself. The moment you surrender that peace and independence to another person joining you, your headache will start because the personalities may clash. Our own level of comportment may be different. There's, you know, there's also the possibility that the two of you may not be able to gel together to do something meaningful. Even husbands and wives, sometimes they don't do businesses together. They do it separately. But one person is the one doing it because the the specter of conflict in the relationship that is imminent can be very difficult. So sometimes avoiding it could be a blessing. But then, as I said, there's nothing wrong in sharing your stress with another person. So, it can elongate life because introduce more peace into the whole work, take off stress you, and then you have someone to discuss, strategy and all of those things with. Why, and they are quantifiable, I mean, in the kind of value additions to the business and to, the general relationships between the partners. So that is that one. Now, and it is possible if you want to escalate your business as just you and give it some legal protection, you can also incorporate a sole proprietorship under the Companies Act that is operative in Nigeria. We call it KAMA. So, and that is there. Then we move on to partnership. That is very popular. Quite a lot of people, particularly the professionals, accountants, those in the medical field, engineers, and all. You have all manner of partnership that are oriented for business purposes. There's nothing wrong. It's popular. It's been around for ages. Again, are there advantages? What is the nature? What should be the focus of partnership in business? It has to be for profit, nothing more. If a partnership between two or more people is not for business, it's not partnership as such. Okay, there could be partnership in marriage, but for business, for profit, that's how we see it. Okay, there are advantages. There are also disadvantages. The fact that you have others joining you, you raise a lot of money, pass more quickly, you share, contributions of money, you know, amongst you, so that the financial burden is not on one person. All of those issues we will touch more. But at the same time, it's also an arena where once you get others, whether they are friends you have known, and issue of money is there, then that is where your stress too will start. Because when you are a partner with other people, the two of you, those partners, they represent the partnership. They can bind the partnership. The decision binds, except there is a different arrangement, to isolate those who will be the one leading or managing and the other one supporting. Then you talk about if there is an indebtedness of the business, how do you pay your creditors? Your creditors, we ordinarily look at the assets of the firm, but if it's not enough, then look towards your own wealth, your own estate, and then they can grab what you need. So the, the liability of your business is your own personal liability, is the liability of all the partners. So creditors can reach any one of you and hold responsible because your liabilities are joint and they are also several. That language has implications. But the danger in being in partnership, some of it is the fact that now, hey, once you have partners, you have to invest in monitoring of the assets of your partners because they will start hiding their estate, their assets in case there is problem, so that nobody gets to know to what extent they are loaded. But if you don't know they are doing that and you are being honest, so when problems come, they get you, and then your creditors we we sue and we take advantage of the openness and transparency of your own way. But for the others, they won't know. Except you know. If you do know, you can hold them responsible to make contributions towards what you have paid the business creditors and stuff. But the fact that the specter of opaqueness in disclosure or lack of transparency, in what others are worth or everybody is worth, adds problems to it. There are some other issues, how that impact, the longevity of a partnership. We discuss more, but it's a vehicle and it's also a good vehicle because you can share your time and if you don't have the time to be active, you can be silent, you can be sleeping partner, and yet if money comes, you have your share and all of that. So that is that one. And of course, you also have, and you can also incorporate partnership. You retain all of the features of partnership, some of which I've mentioned, yet you are also incorporated. The advantage of incorporating a partnership we'll discuss against the disadvantages of what it used to be when that opportunity wasn't available. Okay, so that is another aspect of it that we are going to look at. Now, again, if you want to form a company, which is also popular in Nigeria to do business through incorporated companies, that is allowed under the Companies Act. You can register as a private company. You can also, as I noted earlier, register as a one-man business. You have corporate personality, you have that confirmation. Your liability will be limited. And of course, those that are dealing with your company, they are dealing with you, I mean, with the company, not you. And of course, if the company has problems, the creditors will look towards the company's asset, not your own asset. It does not matter how much you have, they cannot, go beyond what your company has to satisfy the company's indebtedness because there is a separation between the owners, the promoters or proprietors of companies, and of course from the company itself. So those are some of the issues that you see. Of course, bear in mind if you are registering a company, there are lots of paperwork involved. Returns have to be filed and stuff like that. So of course, you are liable to companies' income tax and all of that. You have to have directors. You must have, I mean, some number of directors too, as a requirement of law. And barring all of that, I think if you're okay with all of the rudiments or the rules you need to comply with, again, is a good, medium or vehicle to run a business. Okay, so those are part of the things that we all need to know. Now, I talked about the second aspect of it, which is the regulations of businesses. Every every of these businesses are regulated, and then we need to understand the nature of the law that regulates businesses, so that you have some looking and then you are not totally green around those. Now, what we are going to see by and large is that all of these regulations that regulate businesses, whether partnership law or commercial transaction law, the sale of goods and all of that, and of course, company law, they they exhibit certain provision traits. So there are provision types that are common to every one of those laws. And what are they? Some of those provisions are mandatory. Some of the provisions are enabling. Some are default rules. And then you ask yourself, when is a provision mandatory? How do I know? When is it enabling or empowering? How do you know? When is a provision default? The default provision. Are there implications of a provision being a default provision? Yes. What are the advantages of having them in a legislation? We discuss it. And when are they going to be used? We discuss it. And then you have a much better understanding about law relating to business. And then you have a heightened awareness that if issues are coming up, then you know what to appeal, or at least I am highlight to your solicitor what it should help you look at, you know. And there is no way you can enter into an agreement in business if you don't know this part. And because you may not effectively know this part because you are not spending much time studying this thing, that shows that so the awareness factor of the need to go to those who know better than you is also highlighted. And you can't close your eyes to knowledge. That doesn't matter. Because if you don't meet people who understand the role these provision types in this legislation that regulates your own business, they play, you may lose out when there are problems. But when you are properly advised and all the needful have been done to protect your interest, then of course you are at peace with yourself. So that is how some of these things work, and that is why we emphasize that in our small package to introduce this particular course to you. That is one part of it. Then I spoke about, commercial transactions involving sale of goods and agency. Agency is a hovering concept. And what do I mean by agency being a hovering or ambulatory concept? What it simply means is that it is a concept that is, waiting to be deployed. Is available for business people to deploy to the best advantage you can gain from it. Now, and it is a concept that everybody in business should embrace. In fact, there are some businesses, whether you like it or not, you must. It is compulsory. It's a compulsory component of your business. So it's not as if, but then for some of us, it is also very, particularly for sole proprietorship. If you're doing stuff alone, is it what to do, what to own as a sole proprietor is the business, is your money. You are the one providing money alone. You are the one taking advantage of profits that you are making. But you don't have to be the only one involved. You can be a sole proprietor and have 5 businesses in 5 states. You cannot be in those 5 states at the same time. But when you deploy agency, you can then, have an appearance of being everywhere. So what you then do to really crystallize your being everywhere is monitoring. You have to have a device that through which you can monitor, and what are you going to do for your omnipresence, so to say, will be a reality. You deploy agency, appoint an agent to be in charge of your business in Abuja, one in Fort Harcourt, one in Lagos here, one in, any other place in Nigeria you want to be. And if you're able to do that, you just sit back to monitor, have a connection to all of them, virtual connection. You can sit with them at appointed time, or maybe at the end of every month or every week. You give you report. I mean, they give you report. You do an assessment. You ask questions. You give directions and all that. And then when those directives are given, and then they will come back to report compliance and all of these things. So, and then you're at peace. You do your jottings and everything. So, agency is very important. But beyond business also, agency is everywhere you turn. It's everywhere you turn. The whole political system, is undergirded by agency. When you are appointing your president, he's an agent, and you are the principal, because in agency there is what we call the principal and of course the agent. The principal is the person appointing an agent that you can sack, you can, you can fire, you can hire, and stuff like that. So the agent has specific roles or duties to discharge. You give your instruction, you monitor it. Of course, you pay the agent's remuneration. But he is not you. It does not matter whether the person that is your agent is your child. It's not you. You are yours, he is his. So, and as an agent, there are problems with agency because agencies always have the tendency to steal, to take away from their principal. It does not matter how the blood relation is. The worse if there is no blood relation. So, how do you control the person that you know will steal from you or take away from you? How do you know what are you supposed to do? There are some concepts to apply to get, hopefully, to make the agents calm down. But then if you don't address those, there will be problem. And sometimes it doesn't matter how well you are ready to accommodate an agent. They are who they are. They will still act as agents and create cost. So every agent create cost on the agency. So if you deploy agency in business, there will be agency cost in that your business. So the best you can do is to find a way to reduce that agency cost, or also force the agent to incur what we call bonding cost. So I'm sure some of the concepts will not be new to you in the other courses you do, but they are issues of businesses that are associated with businesses. So therefore, some of this lingo we have to say them to you so that at least you have something to take away from it. Let's let's amplify a little bit, the importance of agency. For country, we have a country, we have a president who has been voted in, is our agent. We are the principal. We can sack, at least theoretically, we can sack our agent and appoint another one. They ask us to go and sack or reconsider or consider whether the agent has his job or it's time to go every 4 years. How well we are doing that, the jury is out. That is that. And then, of course, even the lawmakers who say they represent the people, they are representatives of the people. They are also agents. The governors are also agents. The state legislature, they are also agents. But when you look at the cost of governance in Nigeria and how our agents are behaving, that epitomizes the problems with agency. We are talking about the national level because I want you to see the imperativeness of agency in our lives and the ubiquity of agency too, because they're everywhere, and they can be deployed, in social relations, in business relations, in political situations and stuff like that. Now, um, So if you are worried about the, the kind of expenses they incur, expenditure or the expenses that our agents at the national level incur, then you have something to really worry and think about because it's huge. And then you wonder whether what they are doing is in the best interest. You look at the salary of a legislature, you look at this, you look at that. Is the president accountable? Are the governors accountable? At the time they leave, so we wait on the EFCC to tell us that our governor that just left had about 82 billion, that he has to account to. And then you wonder, what in God's word, will he be doing with 82 billion to do what he wants to go? He wants to join Jeff Bezos to the Mars or to the moon, or 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 this guy that have Tesla. Is that what it is and stuff? So you are worried, okay? The same with presidents, the same with the senators and everything. That is the kind of problems they create. And then another one, remember, I don't know if some of you remember this case, the P&ID in Nigeria. P&ID is that company, that gas company that says that dealt with Nigeria, in the hope that they will use our dry gas to provide power during, I guess, it's Jonathan's era. And then suddenly, of course, it was all ruse, it was fraudulent scheme, and then they took Nigeria to court of arbitral court that we didn't, that we violated or we didn't perform, we breached their contract, and they now wanted profit to accumulate, compound this profit for 25 years. And they got about 6 billion. And then later, because of interest, it became 9 billion. As at the last count, it was 11 billion that they said Nigeria should pay. But we fought gallantly, went back to UK, challenged the award, and then we won. So you can see the financial burden of 11 billion on a nation like Nigeria is huge. So we have to thank God that we escaped that one, by whiskers. But then you ask questions in terms of reflection. How did we find ourselves in this situation? Then you ask yourself, who were the one that represented Nigeria in the negotiation and in signing of this agreement? That is the problems, part of problems of agents or agency as a concept, as useful and valuable, they can be very, very costly and very, very destructive. Okay. But one thing sticks out, that you have to all know if you are thinking agency, that agency, so agents are humans. You must endeavor to make sure that the interests, your own interests and that of the agent are aligned. You must make your agent think you. You cannot afford to have agents hate you. Otherwise, they are going to destroy your business. It's better to really run and sack them and run away than to keep a very angry, unsatisfied agent, you know, in office. Okay. So that is where the reward system is. What is the reward system in your agency relationship? Are you paying the agent well? If you are not, is your agent happy with what you are paying? Does he do they like you, your agents? You know, if all of these answers are no, then you can't escape the problems. Every day, anybody working for government, the police, they're agents of governments and for people, and they have roles to play. But we hear them killing people because of 200 naira, 550 naira, and all of those things because they are poorly paid and they have needs, personal needs, family needs, and there is no, and the money they get is not, their conditions of service is poor. You know, most of the corruption you see in the civil service, those servants, those civil servants are also agents working for the government. Are they properly paid? If the answer is no, they will find a way to survive. And that is where corruption comes in. And once it becomes a system, it becomes even more difficult. So this is where, you know, you look at the advantage of agency. You must embrace the difficulties or the problems they also come that come with it, and then see how you consciously now in business want to deploy this. Then you know what to do. You know to really be realistic. Find a way to create a good reward system. You know, once you have that, the monitoring is very important. You have to monitor anybody that works for you. Okay, whether at home, because you have agents even in your own home. Those who cook your food, those who wash your clothes and stuff. If you don't treat these people well, they are going to create costs. I mean, serious ones, sometimes deadly ones. The other day, we take all your jewelries and run away one day. Or sometimes they bewitch people's children because they are very angry. But I know there are some who also send these people to school, make a better life out for them. And they're happy. They are like people in the home. So, but some of us, once we have one, is every day you keep beating them, chasing them on the street, maltreating them. It's very dangerous, a dangerous game. So, and again, it's the same situation when you keep them in your business and they are not happy. What do you think will happen? You will not count any profit. They will find a way to get, to clear all the profit to their own benefit. So that is that part also that we're going to be looking at. Then we come to the nature. What are the things that happen in business? What define businesses? No, there is no business that has no contracting. The contracting element that is agreeing is the touchstone of business. You must interact, you must negotiate, then you agree, and then you document it, and then you sign, you execute it. That is the way to go in business. You must be talking, you must be negotiating, you must be agreeing, contract, and that is all leading to contract. And then we need to know the significance of contracts of business, and then the components or elements of contracts in business, and then the importance of negotiation. Because some of us, whatever we do that is in business, you must speak up. You must be able to negotiate. You cannot be quiet. Whatever you want, you say it. They will say something else. You argue about it until you agree. Don't give up your own preferences for another. You must talk. Even in marriage and relationships, which is, by and large, there are some element of business people negotiate. The prenuptial agreement. And then, you look at it, you say, no, I don't like this. Let's change this one and all of those. And all of that, if we are together for, say, if you're able to stay with me for 40 or 30 years, everything I have is half-half. If it is 5 years, this is a percentage you get. If you make it up to 15, you put another good percentage to it. But once somebody has crossed 30, 40, it's like you and me, I'm just so 50-50, don't worry. So everybody is okay. But some overlook these things, you know. The whole essence of getting people in your life, you have to start with knowing them. And you cannot know, you know, all of the things you need to do in a particular transaction if you don't talk, if you do not find out, up from other people, get information, so that when somebody is unnecessarily increasing the price of goods, you already have, and then you challenge whether, look, elsewhere, I found this one at a lower price. If you don't go down, I'm sorry, I will not be able to. Once he knows that he doesn't have better info, because it's about information war, that you are better prepared with information and you have options, it will come down. That is how it works. So, and that's how you should work in any relationship that you are in, to negotiate. Whether in all of the ones I've talked about, you must negotiate. You must negotiate. If you and negotiation starts from knowing your customer, your partner. If you don't find out who he is or she is, you will find out later, and it is not always good. So sometimes they say, you act, you are praying, you are praying for these things, you are not finding that information, and then everybody is using Holy Ghost or the Spirit of God and stuff when they are not acting that way, and they know they will not respect it. So you have to really, really be very clever about business, about negotiation, about agreeing and all of that. So we get to know the elements of contract in the course of this program. We also talk more about what we need to negotiate really around, depending on, and it's very contextual, the level of negotiation, the intricacies or complexities of negotiation will depend on the context. What kind of contract are we dealing with? For instance, there are bigger contracts that will require a lot of negotiations to settle. Look at if you are into a typical PPP relationships, as a public-private partnership that involves, I mean, private entrepreneur working with government to deliver projects, that will benefit, the people through government. What that means is that the private partner from outside is bringing his money, is bringing his expertise, and is using that money and expertise to really give out or to provide something that is of value to the public. You can look at Mr. Okoli. Please, can you mute yourself, please? Mr. Okoli, Okoli, please mute yourself. Okay, that was one aspect I forgot at the start, that these things often happen where while the class goes on, then some unmute themselves either deliberately or inadvertently, and then all of the background noise feeds start to the class, and it's very distracting. So I appeal to all of us to be sensitive, to at least try as much as possible to keep us away from your privacy. We don't need it. We don't want it. We shouldn't know in the first instance. And because we are also doing business here, that is teaching and learning. So we don't want distraction. It requires some maturity to get this thing done. It has been, I mean, I was hoping I wouldn't have to say this until the class ends, because in previous classes, I mean, it has been very, I mean, well, it has been worse, but yours has been, you know, very decent in terms of the way you've responded until this. But we can live with it, I'm sure we all know that now. So when you look at PPP relationship, is is a business, and it involves negotiation. It involves settling contract and execution of contracts. Now then you ask yourself, what precisely we are those areas that people would have to negotiate? There are two parties, the government. Government has its own crew of expertise, the engineers, valuers, and all of those things. Somebody wants to take the Lekki toll gate, or the Ekpe toll gate, sorry. Either of those two, they are products of PPP, totally negotiated. So they want to build a road, maintain it for as long as say 30 years, they propose just example. Not real life now, not I'm not speaking to the contract, but I'm speaking to what theoretically it will look like. So, and they are going to invest, say, 8 or 10 billion to get this thing done. And that they have done their study, their traffic study, and they believe that they can recoup their money in 25 years' time, and of course, traffic can improve or can get worse, it can increase beyond that. So all of those things. Then the kind of road they want to build, the kind of infrastructure they want to bring in, they will specify them. And then government people will come, they will look at, all of their drawings, whether the drawings meet what is good for longevity of that kind of project. They will look at the estimates of traffic that they've made. I mean, that they have, I mean, those vehicular traffic, how many cars daily? Because when you are tolling, the which means your per day intake, depends on the volume of traffic on that road. Sometimes for the private partner, they have the motivation to understate the volume of traffic, but it is for government to also match them, in that estimate so that they can find what is acceptable. Because if you allow them to take away a low traffic estimate, they're going to spend so many years. Even when they have recouped their money, they state they do over profiting. So that is where negotiations will center around. The parties will look at these things until it is settled. And once it is settled, fine, maybe it could be executed. But before then, you look at delivery time. You start this project today. When are you going to deliver it? Is there any space to give you in case you didn't really meet? What if there's force majeure? Force majeure is an occurrence you have no control over that stops and prevents, the operation of a project. It has to be part of any contract that have some lifespan, so because you can't predict. And look at what happened in 2020 during the NSAS protest. Since that time, that toll gate has not been used, but the two of them has not been used. And that is the kind of force majeure. Maybe the owners of the project, the private partners have been able to recoup their money. Maybe the government has also paid, because sometimes also the government can run into money and, you know, and pay up the indebtedness and then own the project much earlier than possible. They are all part of what is to be discussed. If it's going to take 2 years to build, we look at the feasibility of that and all that. Then the cash flow, they look at the cash flow, they interrogate it, and all of those things. So again, we look at that kind of project because it's out there and it's useful, and I believe that it is possible. It will be of some value if we are able to understand this aspect of it. So we are going to also look at that. Then, and sometimes doing business, we have done about, we have talked about supervisor and all of those things. There's also what we call equipment leasing. Sometimes you have expertise, you are a professional, a photographer, or you are in the entertainment industry. You want to, you know, produce films and all of that. You don't have the quality, the level of equipment that is needed for good pictorial. So you can go on a list, get involved with those who have these things. They let it out to you. You pay your money. You finish it. All of the times are settled. You pay your rent. You do whatever you have to do. Return it in good, in good shape, plus or minus fair use and stuff like that. Reasonable wear and tear and stuff. And you're good to go. You make your money. You return the equipment, You don't have to have, an office to store all these things, or maybe those dealing with art movement, clearing, landscaping, and all of those things. They don't have to own all of the huge machine, but they can be rented, for a period, and all of these things can also be done. So again, there is importance of contracting, negotiation, and being able to do this. So these are you are part of what we will be doing, and we are hoping that we have a very good interaction with this class as we move on. Your cooperation is very important, and therefore we are hoping that we can really deliver our message, and then at least be part of your own knowledge, influence it, or at least the kind of capacity this brings, we can deliver that to you. So that is where I will stop. And at this point, I will allow or anybody that wants to ask questions, seek clarification, just unmute yourself, ask, and or, I will respond to listen to others. So make your questions short, and then so that we can accommodate others who might want to to weigh in as well. So that is
Hello, good
that.
evening, sir.
Good evening, happiness. Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Go
Please,
ahead.
do we have textbook for this course?
Now, about the textbook thing. The primary thing we have is what we are doing now. You have to, because it's more than 10 textbook.
Do we have a
It is
textbook for this course?
we don't have a definite textbook. Okay, we
I
don't
said, do
have
we
it.
have a textbook for this course?
Can you hear me, do? Can you hear me? Well, it doesn't seem you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, maybe I will get to it later. Yes, if you have been hearing me since I started, I'm sure my answer should get to you. That there is no definite textbook as it is, but what I know is definite is that attendance is very, very important. The kind of textbook that is available sometimes is much bigger than the kind of time you have to go through them. So, by that said, we endeavor as much as possible, to make this particular session very practical, solving case problems, understanding those areas that we have talked about, and then discuss real life situations, and then bring out the knowledge you must have. If you must read any materials, you wouldn't have to depend so largely on it or so bulky. And that is why it is important that we all attend this class, because the reason why we are dedicating our evening this way is to ensure that we teach you enough that you can take something away from discussions. Class interactions is best, for a program like this, as opposed to you have a textbook, you don't have to come, because what you read may not be what we're emphasizing in classes. And that is where a lot of us are running into problems, because I don't want, a situation whereby you have some comfort and hope that, oh, well, you don't have to go. I will just do the textbook issue. From our experiences, a lot of people don't do too well on this kind of program because of one reason or the other. Mostly being that you join this class, for instance, now, there are many who just log in for purpose of attendance and they are gone. So if I were to be calling names now, you will see a lot of people will not even be there to answer their names. So that's just it. So let's go to another person, please. So I am available if you still have some comments. I know it is introduction we've done. When we start the reading, then we will have more questions to ask from experiences, because I believe we have enough people with good experiences in business, or at least people who are desirous of being in business to also seek clarifications. So well, maybe when that period kicks in from next week, we will have a lot more to ask ourselves or to share, perspectives on some of these issues that we have been we have been talking about. So um, I wouldn't wait long if you there's one person that says Zoom user, we need your name. We don't want Zoom user. Always change your icon to your name so that we know who is talking to us. I don't really think. Ask your colleagues how you can do this. Okay, if you have to meet up, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much,
Good
sir.
evening. Yeah.
So, sir, I just wanted to ask for clarity. The point you made at the close end, you mentioned now that beyond sole proprietorship, there is also something called as, I think I heard liars. I'm not so sure. So I just wanted to please clarify that, sir.
Hmm. So, well, if it's in the context of sole proprietorship, which
Yes,
means
sir.
I was discussing the vehicles for businesses. Now, then I talked about equipment leasing. Equipment leasing, like for instance, you are a photographer, and this is what you do as a profession, but you need series of cameras with different dimensions to be able to deliver. So you don't have to have them because sometimes they can be very expensive, but you can go on a list of them, take a list of them for say a month, during which time you would have been able to finish your own projects using those equipment. And then after you have and after you finished, you can then go make your payment, return the equipment. Your work is done, their own work is done. You are not the owner, but at least you've been able to get the facilities to do your business. And you make your profit, you move on to something else. That is, if that is what you didn't hear well, that is it that I was talking about. And it was around the last thing that I discussed. Although I talked about the PPP, the public-private partnership, that involves working with government, where a private equity investor has money, usually a company you know or a collection of venture capitalists. They have an area to work with government where they will fund it, they will own it, they will manage the risk, they will do the management and operate it. And then what the government needs to do is to be a strategic partner, because they may require some approvals or lands, for this kind of projects. Government will be there. But again, that also bring into focus a lot of, complexity, negotiation, all around so many issues. But once it is settled, it can really be of benefit. It is an arrangement that helps government, that government doesn't have to be the one to bring in the money. They may not have the expertise to manage that business, and they may not even have the time to do it, away from governance. Yet a partner has taken away that kind of burden and delivering, and everybody, the society, the public is enjoying. That is that. I hope that is the area you are asking. But there'll be more opportunity to talk.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. For any other person. Okay. Now, in case there is, I will encourage you not to be shy to ask questions. There is no foolish question. Every question is important. It is only it is those who don't know. If you don't ask, you won't know whether you know or not. And when you even answer questions and it is wrong, you'll be corrected. Then you are better off. So please, I want us to be very relaxed, to be at home. It is your class. Ask questions, make contributions. Those that are talking are benefiting people that are not talking. But you get more when you're also in the fray, you're making your voice heard and all of that. That is my appeal to everybody. I'm hoping to see you next time, and next week. And on that note, I will be signing off. I think the class captain you have, you understand how to compare the attendance, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you compile that and you send it to me. So on that note, I will be wishing everybody a very wonderful evening. Have a good night, please.
Good night,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Remember,
Congrats. Thank you.
pleasant rest. Bye for now.
Good
Thank
night, sir.
you. Good night.
Thank you, sir, and good night, sir.